The phone rang in the early morning hours. We woke up worried, as one always does when it rings at those hours, because there's no good news that can't wait until morning. My mom got up and answered. I heard that she was trying to calm someone down. I got up too and asked her what was happening. My mom looked at me with a confused expression that I didn't recognize. I asked her again, and the only thing she managed to do was put the call on speaker. I heard my sister's voice on the other end of the line. Come, please. There's a dead woman here. She got into the closet and I can't get her out of there. I asked her what she was talking about. I asked her if she was on drugs or something like that. Although I knew that my sister was the last person in the world who would use drugs, she got out. I was playing with the Ouija board, and the dead woman got out. Very good evening, dear community. I have to make a warning. The following story may provoke certain reactions in some of you who are sensitive or who are prone to suggestion. The following story talks about manifestations that are transmitted when told, and I believe it is without a doubt one of those episodes that will make many listeners feel different, that will make them feel that they may be experiencing something similar to what is narrated here. Please remember that if at any time you feel this way, try to see this only as entertainment. Please try to listen very calmly and not feel threatened. If you can't do it, I recommend that you don't go ahead. Skip this episode. Please. Seriously. I suppose that to tell my story I must divide it into two parts. One is as important as the other. That's why I ask for your patience if my story goes on too long. This is the story of my family, but particularly the story of Gabby, my older sister. Since we were little, it is known that my sister tends to tempt her luck too much. She's very fearful, but at the same time, for some reason she takes too many risks. It's as if she needed to feel in danger. It sounds crazy, but that's how it is. Back then, one of my aunts lived in Texcoco, in a big house, and we spent a Christmas there. We had made little friends on the street, and every day they came by for us to invite us out. That's how we got to know that whole neighborhood, its secrets and even its legends. One in particular because the children liked to run past the land that surrounded a very old little wooden house from which smoke always came out, as if they had a small fireplace inside burning all the time, smoke that smelled like fresh burned grass. Everyone ran around the house and returned to the street, all as a challenge, and that's where a lady lived that everyone was afraid of. A black lady with an accent that no one recognized, that I still can't identify to this day. My sister and I never made that trip around the house. We didn't know the lady, nor did we want to make her uncomfortable. It wasn't that we were afraid, because at that moment it didn't scare us. One day when they sent us to the store, we spent hours there by the lady's house. I remember she had the door open and my sister stopped and stared. I tried to pull her by the hand, but she, with her usual curiosity, she took steps toward the little house, wanting to see inside, wanting to know if it was as weird a house as the kids said. And from behind her, the woman came out and greeted us. She made a sign as if for us to wait, bringing her fingers together, and hurried to enter her house. It smelled a lot like rue, burned rue. The woman made us feel very kind, happy because we weren't afraid of her, because we had respected her and hadn't run around her house as if she were a monster. At least that's what I wanted to think. I imagined for a moment being me, that lonely lady, with a bunch of children treating you like you were a witch just for being different. The lady wore a long skirt and a loose blouse with flowers. She had a cloth on her head, covering it all without letting her hair be seen. When she came out of her house again, she came out running with a box in her hands, making signs for us to come closer. I thought she was going to come toward us, but she stayed at the door of her house smiling. I didn't move toward her, not because I distrusted, but because I had been taught not to approach strangers' houses. My sister, on the other hand, advanced as carefree as she was, so trusting. She approached the lady who opened the box in front of her, smiling as if offering her what was inside. Cookies. I saw from afar or something she was offering her to eat. My sister stood still without saying anything, looking at the contents of the box. I stayed far away waiting for her to take it, so we could continue our way back to my aunt's house. And there was a long wait, perhaps moments, but very long, for my sister not to make any movement. The lady didn't stop smiling, and my sister remained silent and motionless. "What is it?" I asked from afar. "Gabby, what is it?" I asked again. My sister turned toward me slowly and started to walk. She moved forward and I saw she was crying. Her face was serious, but she had tears in her eyes. She got to me and pulled me to leave, but I wanted to see what was in the box. The lady was now looking at me and moving the box forward, as if offering me too, as if inviting me to see it. She was smiling. My sister pulled my arm so hard that she hurt me and then started to run. I felt we were in danger and ran too. A scream echoed behind me and I turned around. Only me. The lady was standing on the sidewalk and now with a very angry face, very upset. She put her finger across her lips, as if warning me that we should remain silent. When we got to my aunt's house, my sister was shaking and couldn't stop crying. My aunt asked us what had happened, if someone had done something to us. I didn't want to say anything because that gesture from the lady I had taken as a warning. However, my sister was so bad that I felt something was going to happen to her, that she was going to die of cardiac arrest or something like that. And that's why I finally told my aunt what had happened, that my sister had approached the lady's house, and they had shown her something in the box. My aunt started to insist. My sister told her that she had to tell her, that she had to share what had happened to be able to help her, not to be afraid. I preferred not to say anything more. I felt we were about to have my aunt go out enraged and go look for that woman and get into trouble. My sister calmed down and stopped crying. She asked my aunt to take me out of the room. When she did, she finally confessed what it was she had seen, what was inside the box. My aunt ran out, shouting profanities, and at that moment furiously went to the lady's house. The entire neighborhood came out to see. My aunt furiously knocked and kicked the door, but no one answered. I was taking care of my sister, who wouldn't stop shaking. I asked her what she had seen, but she didn't dare tell me. And outside, there was a scandal. The neighbors had come out to see the gossip. Finally, my sister told me as if she had no other choice, as if she knew that if she didn't tell me, someone else would end up doing it. She had an arm inside, a little arm like a baby's. Old, rotten, she told me. I knew she wasn't making it up. She never would. Maybe that's why I threw up. My aunt came back. She asked us for forgiveness for sending us alone to the store. She told us that if she could, she would send us back home. That's when I finally found out why we were there. When I learned that it wasn't Christmas vacation, but that my mom had to be under supervision because she had had another relapse. She had had mental illness problems when she was young, and had relapsed seriously in those weeks. Luckily, they took such good care of me that I hadn't realized how bad she was. My aunt said she would see what to do to keep us safe, so that we could return as soon as possible with my mom. Of course, all without telling her what had happened so as not to worry her. Besides, above all, not to alter her mood that was finally improving. A doctor friend of my aunt saw my sister that night because no matter how hard we tried, she couldn't stop crying. And the phone rang. It was my mom. She asked me how we were, and I lied to her. I told her fine. She asked to speak to my sister, and I told her she had gone out with my aunt to buy something for dinner. I couldn't tell her that she was in the room, that a doctor was examining her because she almost died of fright. My mom told me it hadn't been a good night, that please, my sister should call her as soon as she could, and I knew there was something my mom wanted to say, but she didn't dare tell me, that at that moment, she was hiding a lot from me, thinking I couldn't process it. My aunt talked to her a while later. I saw her approach the phone in horror, and I saw her pretend that everything was fine to calm my mom on the other end of the line. They prepared us to return the next day. My mom was at the house of a childhood friend near the mountain in my city. We also returned to our house. The next night we were having dinner together, the three of us again. Time later I learned the real reason why my mom called that night. It was because of something she saw when she was left alone in her friend's house, when they had to leave her for a moment, although it was a situation they avoided. Almost at the same time that my aunt went to knock on the lady's door, my mom saw something. That night my mom was washing the dishes from her dinner when she saw a figure walk through the garden, thinking someone had broken in. She went out to see. The house where she was far from everything. There was no other nearby, only trees and dirt roads. It was, on one hand, the ideal setting to clear oneself of worries and fears, but also a dangerous one to hallucinate, as often happened to her. When she went out to check, she saw a figure pass by again out of the corner of her eye and followed it, trying to verify if it was something real or not. Just leaving the garden grounds before reaching the trees, she saw something. A woman with her back turned, barefoot, with black skin and a long skirt, a flowered blouse, and with her head covered by an orange cloth. She had her arms stretched out like a scarecrow and moved her head from side to side until she suddenly stopped, as if she had heard something behind her, when she began to turn toward my mom. She feared it was a hallucination, that she was about to see something horrible, and she covered her eyes and went back inside, groping. My mom never knew that what she saw was the same woman who, 1,200 kilometers away, had frightened my sister in a way that changed her life forever. What did she really see? We'll never know. If it was a hallucination because of her illness, I don't understand why she saw something that looked particularly like that. Exactly like that. It doesn't make any sense. And you know what was the strangest thing? We told my grandfather about this. A few weeks later, we told my dad over the phone. Although he lives in the United States, we told him over time too. Years later, to the one who became my sister's best friend. What we never told them is that the lady was a black woman, nor how she was dressed, nor the position of the arms. But on the 3 occasions they told us that the same night or in the following days, they noticed a person near their house through the window, with their back turned, but very close, as if turning their head to listen, always in the same position, as if she knew when her story was being transmitted. But don't worry, she's never done anything really dangerous, just appearing at that woman's house in Texcoco. My aunt told us. She abandoned it shortly after that first night, and it remains abandoned to this day. From that encounter, if we can call it that, my sister lived through different events that should have made it clear to her that the paranormal not only exists, but was always very, very close to her. But she's never had enough respect for it. Every so often she becomes obsessed with something different. With having her cards read, with tarot, with having love spells and works done so that things go well for her at work. As my mom improved from her condition, it seemed that my sister was adopting some of the behaviors that my mother had and overcame. She was sure that all people wanted to hurt her. She trusted only her best friend and some family members. She got a job from home. She's very good at what she does and decided to go out as little as possible. Her life was quiet, and she only went out from time to time to spend time with us, and her circle of trust had to go to her house to see her. From one moment to another, she started to visit my mom a little more, especially when I wasn't there. She had a lot of interest in the family history, in her youth, in how the first symptoms of her illness presented themselves. She asked her very specific questions, and almost always formulated in a way that made it seem like she already knew the answer, as if she was looking to corroborate data, dates, and information. Since she was more open at a good time, one afternoon we decided to visit her, just like that, without warning. We were going to invite her to dinner out. When we got to her house, we knocked. We thought we heard her voice from inside and went in. The door was open. Inside, everything was dark. It smelled bad. The dirty dishes were fighting all over the kitchen, as if it had been weeks or months since she washed a single one. The windows were closed and covered with those curtains that block out the light completely. "Sweetie, you have a disaster here," my mom said, and opened a window to instinctively start picking up. A laugh was heard from my sister's room. "I'm not joking. You can't live like this. This is so horrible. Tell me when you don't have time. Are you sick and can't clean? And I'll gladly come and help you," Mom said. "I don't like you coming here." My sister's voice that answered from her room sounded different, as if she were sick with her throat. "She doesn't like people coming. I don't like it. I don't like people coming here." We approached the room door. She stayed still in front of it, but I didn't dare open it. My sister wasn't there. There was no one, but that room was darker and smelled worse than the whole house. It wasn't simply the smell of rotten food on the plates. There it smelled like decomposed flesh. It smelled like death. I remembered that smell. It smelled like Mr. Uribe's house when he died, and no one realized it until the stench of the body came out to the whole street a few days later. It smelled exactly like that. We closed the door and left there. We didn't want my sister to feel intimidated suddenly, arriving and finding us there, looking at the conditions in which she lived. We left everything as we found it and decided to leave and then think calmly about what we would do and how we could help her. But when we got in the car, when we hurried to leave before my sister arrived, the two of us mentioned the same question at the same time. "Did you see what I saw on the bed?" And it's that both of us, without having mentioned it at that moment, saw on the bed something. A thick wooden Ouija board, almost black, with burned edges. A board that I recognized, an Ouija made with cemetery tree wood, worked and watched over for several nights. An Ouija that belonged to my best friend and that I once played with. One that he made sure to show off to the whole high school because it gave guaranteed results, he said. What I didn't understand is how it had gotten into the hands of someone as sensitive as my sister, because besides, she had no relationship with my friend, and now it was in Gabby's hands, in the hands of someone who would be willing to do everything they said shouldn't be done in order to achieve better results, to provoke the most intense reactions. We decided to invite my sister to lunch the next day. We told her we would pick her up to go to a place she liked, but that we would pick her up with little time before the reservation. This with the intention that she wouldn't think we were going to come in. However, the next day, when we arrived, my mom and I showed up at her door knocking with the excuse that we had to urgently go to the bathroom. We entered the house and the place was spotless, squeaky clean. It smelled like incense and flowers. We were totally surprised. My sister just said, "She told me you were going to come in, but everything is clean now. Not like yesterday." "What are you talking about, Gabby?" "Who told you?" I asked. My sister just smiled and said nothing. To come into the bathroom calmly. That we should go eat. To come into the bathroom calmly and go eat. The conversation at lunch was as normal as could be. In fact, the most normal I've seen my sister since we were kids. Everything went so well that for a moment we thought we had read everything wrong, that maybe this time whatever my sister was doing was going well for her. But no, of course not. We were far from understanding the seriousness of what she was living. 6 months passed. 6 months in which I hardly saw my sister Gabby, although my mom assured me that she talked to her every day and that she was doing well. And it was December of 2024. The phone rang in the early morning hours. We woke up worried, as one always does when it rings at those hours. There's no good news that can't wait until morning. My mom got up and answered. I heard that she was trying to calm someone down. I got up too and asked her what was happening. My mom looked at me with a confused expression that I didn't recognize. I asked her again, and the only thing she managed to do was put the call on speaker. I heard my sister's voice on the other end of the line. Come, please. There's a dead woman here. She got into the closet and I can't get her out of there." I asked her what she was talking about. I asked her if she was on drugs or something like that. Although I knew that my sister was the last person in the world who would use drugs. Then she said, I was playing with the Ouija board and the dead woman got out. My mom stayed on the line trying to calm my sister down. She thought it might be one of the hallucinations that she used to have. She always knew that hers could be hereditary. I called my friend Ricardo, Ricky, as we call him, who lives 2 houses across from my sister's. I asked him to please go over to her house to see if everything was okay. My mom had asked my sister to wait for us on the sidewalk, not to be inside the house. My friend confirmed that to me, that my sister had gone out and was talking on the phone outside the house, on the street. Hey, but she's not alone, he told me. There's someone looking out from the upstairs window. We'll be there in a few minutes. I ran through all the stops on the way, all the red lights. I had told my friend to watch over my sister from a distance without getting close so as not to disturb her more. But when we arrived, he told me he had lost sight of her, that he didn't know if she went back into the house or had walked down the street. The night was darker than normal. There were no working lights on that street. I asked him to wait for us at the door, please not to leave, not to let anyone out. My mom and I entered my sister's house, completely dark. I turned on my phone's flashlight. The living room and kitchen were empty. There were dirty dishes, but not like last time. I remembered what Rick said the first time we played with the Ouija board, when Gary had borrowed it from him. That never, for any reason, should you play alone. Never on Day of the Dead, and never in December. Upstairs, someone ran on the floor above. I told my mom to wait, but she didn't listen to me. We both went up. You couldn't see anything, but the smell again. There was a smell of death that we remembered from the previous time. I managed to see someone go into my sister's room. I could see a piece of dirty nightgown. Then we heard something get into the closet. When I looked in, I managed to see the door, finishing closing completely. Someone was there. I stood there. 5 seconds. 10. 20. I didn't dare go in and see. Gabby. I called my sister by her name, but no one answered. From the door downstairs, my friend yelled at me. He told me my sister was outside on the street. My mom and I ran down. My mom hugged my sister, who looked very, very bad, and I told my friend that there was someone inside, to call the police. I went to take my sister to the hospital with my mom. She was having a panic attack. My friend stayed waiting for the police to arrive and go up to check, and they did, but they didn't find anyone. From the hospital, I told my friend to please keep his eyes on my sister's house. I told him I knew there was someone there. I just wanted to know if it was someone real. Something physical, yes, or if it was something paranormal. I mean, I really wanted my friend to call me and tell me that someone had come out. Something that could explain it more normally. I don't know. By that point, I preferred to think that someone was taking advantage of my sister's conditions. It would be easier to help her than if she was getting involved, according to her, with things we don't understand, with things that go far beyond our comprehension. My friend called me. He told me that someone had come out of the house. A woman with gray straight hair, who had a gray nightgown and walked very slowly. He said she stopped right in front of his window, from where he was watching through a slit between the curtain, imperceptible. He said he knew she was looking at him and that she had her arms stretched out to the sides like a scarecrow. I asked him to close the doors and call the police. Luckily he did. By the time the police arrived again, there was no one there. My sister improved over time. There were no signs of the Ouija board or any woman there. She refuses to talk about it or what she did or what she asked to know. She always changes the subject. My best friend confirmed to me that he didn't have his Ouija board, but he never knew how it disappeared from his house. And that happens. The boards that are worked seek who else they can harm. Gabby lives with us again, and although sometimes I have to take care of her almost as much as I take care of my mom, I prefer that to knowing them far away, alone, at risk. And although the two parts of that story seem to be disconnected, what strikes me a lot, very much, is the position of the arms of the two entities, of the two incarnations of evil. I don't know what they have to do with each other, and although I'd like to, I feel I'm better off not knowing, not understanding. As I tell you, 1 year of peace has passed, of presumed calm, and I finally dare to share this story. Only if something were to happen, and I hope not, will I write to you again. If anyone has any idea of what may be happening, what is the root of what we have experienced, I will read your answers carefully and very carefully. If anyone sees a woman with outstretched arms outside their house, although I don't think so, really, but if anyone sees her, I'm sorry. I know it's partly my fault, but I'm very sure she can't do anything to you. Rest well. Have a very good night.